In a world that seems to prize words above all else, there's something almost unsettling about a person who chooses not to speak. Imagine a situation where someone insults you, challenges you, or provokes you, yet you don't react. You say nothing. There's no defensive posture, no immediate reply, no rising anger, just silence. And in that silence, something shifts. The energy changes. The dynamic is no longer controlled by the other person. It's controlled by you. This, Nietzsche believed, is the highest form of mastery. Not speaking in moments of provocation isn't an act of weakness or avoidance. It's an act of strength. A strength that most people will never fully understand, let alone embody. Because silence, as Nietzsche saw it, isn't merely the absence of sound. It's the presence of power. You might think of silence as passive, but Nietzsche saw it as anything but. It's active. It's deliberate. It's a refusal to be dragged into the chaos of other people's emotional turbulence. When you remain silent, especially in the face of conflict or manipulation, you are asserting your own sovereignty. You are saying, "I will not be moved by your words. I will not be defined by your expectations." In a world where the loudest voices are often the most dominant, silence becomes a radical act. It's an act of defiance against the constant clamor of society, the need for validation, the incessant demand to always have the last word. To remain silent in the face of criticism, mockery, or even cruelty is to say, "I do not need your approval to feel whole. I do not need to defend myself to feel secure in who I am." Consider how easily people are manipulated by words. We live in a world that thrives on argument, debate, and confrontation. Whether it's in politics, the media, or even in personal relationships, there's an unspoken expectation that we must react, that we must defend, explain, or justify ourselves whenever we're attacked. The moment someone challenges you, they've already set the rules. They've forced you into their narrative. And in that narrative, you're always the one defending yourself. Always the one explaining why you're right, why you've been wronged, why your actions are justified. But Nietzsche understood that there's a power in choosing not to play that game. When someone attacks you verbally or emotionally, and you remain silent, you deny them the control they're seeking. You're not giving them the reaction they want. You're not giving them the fuel to continue. And you're certainly not letting them define the terms of the conversation. This is where Nietzsche's concept of silence goes beyond just avoiding conflict. It's about transcending the need for conflict altogether. To remain silent isn't to be afraid. It's to rise above the need to defend yourself. It's the ultimate expression of strength because it says, "I don't need to justify myself to you. I know who I am." There's a great deal of freedom in that. Think about the last time you were involved in a confrontation. How much energy did it consume? How many times did you wish you could have walked away without engaging, without getting drawn into the noise? Now imagine if you had. Imagine how much more peaceful, how much more powerful you would have felt if you simply let the other person talk, let them expose themselves with their words, and never felt the need to respond. This is not just about avoiding conflict. It's about seeing the conflict for what it is, an emotional trap. A trap set by someone who is trying to pull you into their world of insecurity, their world of need, their world of chaos. Nietzsche understood this deeply. He saw how easy it was to be ensnared in the dramas of others, to react, to feel obligated to explain yourself, to defend your character, your actions, your beliefs. But here's the thing. When you react, when you feel the need to defend, you're giving away your power. You're allowing someone else's words, someone else's emotions, to dictate your state of being. You're allowing them to control your peace of mind, your emotional equilibrium. You're no longer acting from a place of sovereignty, but from a place of reaction. Silence, on the other hand, gives you the power to retain control, to stand firm in your own sense of self, unshaken by the emotional storms around you. And this is not an easy thing to master. Most people are uncomfortable with silence. They feel the need to fill it, to bridge the awkwardness, to react to the tension. But Nietzsche understood that silence is the space where true power resides. In that space, there's no need to explain yourself, to prove anything, to justify your existence. You simply are. There's a reason why some of the most powerful figures in history were known for their ability to remain silent in the face of provocation. Think about the great leaders, the great thinkers, the great artists. How many times were they misunderstood, criticized, or misrepresented? Yet, rather than engaging in a battle of words, they chose silence. They allowed their actions, their works, and their character to speak for themselves. They knew that the people who truly mattered would see the truth without the need for a constant verbal defense. And the people who didn't matter? Well, their opinions were irrelevant. Nietzsche believed that one of the greatest forms of freedom was to simply not care what others thought of you, to not be affected by the judgments of the crowd, the criticisms of the insecure, or the attempts to drag you into their emotional chaos. To remain silent in the face of these things was to rise above them, to be free of them, to be master of yourself. But let's not fool ourselves. Silence is not always easy. It's not always the comfortable choice. It takes immense strength and self-discipline to remain silent in a world that is constantly asking for your opinion, your reaction, your validation. But the more you practice it, the more you begin to realize that silence is not an absence. It's a presence. It's the presence of clarity. It's the presence of power. It's the presence of a person who knows their worth and refuses to allow the noise of the world to take them off course. Nietzsche's philosophy teaches us that true strength comes not from reacting to the world, but from transcending it. It comes from mastering the art of silence, not as a retreat, but as a powerful affirmation of your own sovereignty. When you learn to remain silent, you no longer need to engage with every provocation. You no longer need to prove yourself. You no longer need to justify your existence. In silence, you become untouchable. Your peace is yours alone, and in that peace, you find the strength to act when it truly matters and to remain quiet when it does not. You become a master of your own destiny, no longer subject to the whims of others. You become, in Nietzsche's words, the Übermensch, the one who stands beyond the petty squabbles of the crowd, the one who lives by their own rules, and the one who understands that true power lies not in speaking, but in choosing when to remain silent. And so, the next time you find yourself in a situation where someone tries to provoke you, to drag you into a confrontation, to make you defend yourself, remember this: silence is not your enemy. It's your greatest ally. The more you learn to wield it, the more you will see that you don't need to engage with every distraction, every argument, every judgment. You can simply stand, calm and unmoved, and let the noise of the world fade into the background. For in silence, you will discover the deepest power of all, the power to be yourself, undisturbed by the chaos around you.